You don't just suddenly see a baby get up and like slam dunk a basketball, right? There's a progression of how that happens. Hey, what's up, YouTube? So today I'm going to talk about a very simple thing you want to keep in mind when you're practicing to really be successful. All right, so the first thing you're going to need, and it's pretty simple, is drive, right? You want a reason to be better at guitar, and that means maybe you want to be a rock star, maybe you want to look cool, maybe are doing it because you need a new hobby, and all those reasons are perfect, keeping you on track to being a better guitarist. So whatever that is, always keep that in mind and know that when things get hard, you want to keep that in mind. You simply want to think back to why you're doing it, and remember, there is a reason. Just keep at it, keep working at it. Oh, the second thing you need is perseverance, right? You want to keep at it no matter how bad you feel about what you're doing, because if you just keep at it, it's gonna get better, right? You've seen the videos online where you see the stone and the water dripping on the stone. You see, okay, 15 years, there's not really doing anything. 30 years, oh, you start to see a little hole, and then 40 years, you start to see a little crack, and then 50 years, the rock splits in half, right? So it's the same thing. If you simply keep at it, you will see results. It's as simple as that. You want to just keep working at it to see the results, right? So always bear in mind that there are steps forward and steps back, or at least that's what it feels like, right? Remember, if you don't start today and if you don't play today, and you always keep putting it off to the next day. And this goes with anything you do in life, right? If you don't do this today, or you keep putting it off to the next day, it's basically, you're not gonna get there, right? If you wanna get better at playing guitar, you're gonna simply have to put maybe your ego aside. Oh, I'm not good, or oh, this guy sounds better, or this girl sounds better, or whatever. I'm never gonna sound like X guitarist or X musician. Well, of course you're not, because you need to practice, right? So always bear in mind that you wanna keep practicing. You might not like it, that you're not good, or that you're not good enough, because maybe you're already good, but you're just in denial, or you're having low self-esteem about everything you're doing. You just gotta persevere. You just gotta keep going through it, no matter how hard it gets. You know, it's like working, or it's like, you know, doing dishes. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to go to work. You know, even if it's a job you love, you still have to go, and you still have to find reasons. So you have to persevere. You have to keep at it. It's simple, just persevere. Have a routine, right? So that's basically know what you're gonna be doing and kind of have a progression, right? It's kind of like you wouldn't read a book and then maybe start at the last chapter, and then, well, today I'm gonna read chapter 3, but I'm gonna start on the 5th paragraph. You're not gonna get the whole book, and you're not gonna understand it. Just like if you're jumping around on what you're practicing and you don't necessarily have a particular routine of warm-up and then technical things, and then doing the music you're working on, and doing things that are also fun, you might maybe get burnt out, or you might not see progress as quickly as if you do have a warm-up and you have these technical things, you know what you need to work on. A guitar teacher is really a good way to get that routine, because a guitar teacher is going to see what you want to work on. They're going to see what kind of techniques it requires. They're going to break it down for you. You're going to have basically all of it served to you on a platter, and then you're just gonna have to digest it. You're gonna have to put the work in, work on it. Whether you want to be a rock guitarist, a jazz guitarist, whether you want to play flamenco, classical, it all comes down to the fact that you need some kind of progression. You need to be able to see where you are, to see where you're going, and then see the roadmap of how to get there. Getting a teacher is super helpful, and you don't need a teacher. I always recommend a teacher if you're just starting out, because you will simply get better that much quicker. You don't just suddenly see a baby get up and like slam dunk a basketball, right? There's a progression of how that happens. Learn to crawl, or they learn to hold their heads up, right? Then they learn to crawl, then they learn the first word, then they learn to run, and then they learn to jump, and they get better at these things, and then maybe somewhere down the line, right, they learn to slam dunk, right? They don't just come out and they're ready to slam dunk. Just like you're not ready to play whatever it is you want to be playing if you're just starting out. Maybe you already are playing, or maybe you're not playing, but basically you need some kind of a routine. You need that routine and a progression that's going to help you start at one point, see where the next point is, and then it's going to help you connect. Keeping some kind of a diary maybe, or a journal, or really just being on top of it and making it kind of like, oh, you eat breakfast, you do this, you take a shower, you brush your teeth, and then maybe you practice guitar, and then, oh, you're going to practice 10 minutes of this etude, 20 minutes of this piece, whatever it is. You want to have that kind of routine. You want that. Another thing that's super important is going slow. Now, I know the passage or whatever music, it might be fast, it might be technical. The way a lot of the stuff we learn as we're learning music is through repetition, is through muscle memory, where you kind of access something in your brain where you aren't even cognizant of it, right? So you're basically learning things and you're almost doing them without even thinking about it. It's kind of like breathing, it's kind of like walking, it's kind of like lifting up a cup, lifting up something and taking it from one hand to another, right? You're not thinking about, well, I'm gonna open my hand, and then this other hand is gonna move over this way, and then this hand is gonna articulate at the wrist here, and this hand is gonna start to grab things. It needs to become second nature. And so when we do it slow, obviously we're thinking about all these things we're doing, and we're basically starting to train our brain into having it kind of in the background. We're tricking our brain or our muscles or both into kind of doing things without thinking about it. That's basically what a lot of music is. You know, you're kind of accessing things without thinking about them. And that's why it looks so simple and easy. When you look at a musician or a performer, they make it look easy. Well, because it is, right? They've slowed it down, they've played it, they've created a pathway in their brain which basically has them access it without the kind of work required for someone who doesn't play. Go slow when you practice. Practice precision, practice perfection, practice getting it right and getting it to sound good. You want it to sound as good as possible, and you want it to be perfect on the first try. Well, you might get it, but if you do it once and you do it a second time and it's not perfect, well, you probably need to keep trying it at a slower speed, because you want to have kind of assurance that when you are actually gonna play it, that you are able to repeat the same results. If you're taking a math test or you're doing something, you throw a basketball, well, you got it in the hoop this time, well, it might look like, wow, this guy can play, but then he just got lucky, right? You just got lucky by getting that chord correct, but then someone has you do it again and then you don't get the same result, right? So that's why we do things slow, and we kind of start to create this brain to muscle connection, which has to exist for so many different skills in our life. It comes down to so many things. So always practice things slow. That kind of ties into what I was saying earlier about having a routine, right? You want that routine to incorporate being slow. You don't want to just boom, 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 I need to play this fast, so I'm gonna practice it fast. Well, it's gonna be sloppy. Think about that, and next time you're practicing, try to really slow it down. Always have the result you want, but maybe at a slower speed, because then that's actually gonna allow you to then move up and get faster and get faster, and then pretty soon you are gonna be at the speed that you wanna be. It's actually kind of trickier sometimes to practice slow than fast, because you can cover more mistakes when you're doing it fast, right? It's not as noticeable. But that's not what it's about. It's about the effect, the way the music makes you feel, the neurological response in the listener. Basically, practice slow. You want the results, you're gonna have to put the time in. I think this is the last thing I should talk about. This should always be there. Have fun. When you're practicing, always carve out some kind of time where you're actually gonna do something you enjoy, right? And sometimes that means just playing the music, the riff you're learning at a fast speed, you know? Like, play to the music, play for people if that's what you like, play for yourself, or play, just have fun, right? Just make sure that you're doing all the things I mentioned before, but also you're also finding time to have fun. I needed to say that because sometimes I forget to do that myself, right? I'm so, I gotta get this this riff right? Oh, it's slow. I would need to get it up to tempo. I'm just gonna practice this one for an hour. I'm gonna start slow and I'm gonna take little breaks. If sometimes you do need a break, right? So that's another thing you wanna think about. Take a little break if you need to take a little break. Nothing wrong with that. Just like our muscles, you know, you're working out, you're lifting heavy weights, you're building mass, right? But you can't work out the same body part every day. You're not gonna see results, or you might hurt yourself, right? So you need to take little breaks every once in a while. Subscribe, ring that bell, leave a comment below if I missed something, and hope to see you soon.